Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint Podcast, episode number 260, recorded live September 14th, 2005. I, of course, did not get the Miss America thing last night. I thought my swimsuit competition was pretty solid. The talent thing could have been a little better. But overall, I thought I had a strong showing, but I am not Miss America. But instead, I am your host for tonight's podcast, Todd Klindt. Before we get any further along, I want to give a shout out to the folks at Rackspace. And I feel bad. Like 2 weeks ago, I was talking about hanging up my 5-year Rackspace flag over there. It was going to cover up the Joanne's Canadian flag, and I felt bad about that, and I just haven't ever done it. But I think about adding that, so my Rackspace flag. But I bring all that up because the folks at Rackspace make all this possible. So you can find out about all the great things that we do at sharepoint.rackspace.com. And while you're out there, you can also see what other non-SharePoint, but still Microsoft things we do. And that's at www.rackspace.com/Microsoft. And while you're out there cruising the internet, hopefully you're doing this over your lunch hour or in your own time. You know, don't chew up your employer's time with this. But go on ahead and go out to toddklindt.com/blog. You'll find links to all my podcasts and where I'm going with my speaking engagements and all kinds of stuff like that at www.toddklindt.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Todd Klindt, and you can subscribe to this channel on YouTube at youtube.com/ToddKlindtNetcast. I am all over the internet, as I keep telling people, like my mom. I am huge on the internet. I am all over. I have got literally dozens of people that follow me on the internet. Dozens. They're all over. And those are just some of the many links where you can find me when you need to. So let's move on. Now, as I was talking to Lori earlier, the production notes were something that I started many years ago, because this podcast has been going strong for like 6.5 years, something like that. I think March of 2009 was when the first one hit the streets. But when I first started doing this, now you might find this tough to believe, I was actually pretty terrible at this podcasting thing. I know, right? I make this look so easy, but really it's a lot of work. And when I first started doing this podcast, I did a bad job of all the work. And I did such a bad job that I dedicated part of my show to telling you about all the bad things I'd done the week before and apologizing for them and assuring you that I wouldn't do them anymore. And then the next week I would, screw something completely different up and then have to apologize that. So the production notes became a very integral part of the podcast because I kept screwing things up. And then I kind of got my groove 3-4 years into this. Really what it was the podcasting technology got better. First, I was broadcasting live on Stickcam, and then they went away. And then I was broadcasting live on Ustream, and then they went away. And I moved to some other stuff. And now I'm on YouTube, which is Google, and I think they're going to be around for a while. And things have been going pretty well. So the production notes have been few and far between until a couple of months ago. Things started really revving up, and today is no exception. I know you're all at the end of your seats to figure out what I screwed up last time. So I did not do a podcast last week. It was Memorial Day here in the States, and I was just kind of being a bum, doing some family stuff, and just didn't want to try to wrap all that up and get the notes together and all that. So I took the week off. After I planned on that, I realized that I'd actually taken off 2 weeks before that off as well. I'm a super big bum, but that's okay. You guys love me anyway, right? All right. So anyway, so the production notes were for 2 weeks ago's podcast, but I screwed them up last week. And there were a few things. So I live in a college town. Ames is like 60,000 people, and half of that is college students probably. And I've got a cable modem. I've got DSL and a cable modem, but my cable modem is a super fast one, and it's the one that I use. And it's the one that I'm broadcasting this on. The problem with that is in August, when all the college students come back, tens of thousands of people ascend on Ames and they sign up for cable modems and all that. And it takes the cable company about a month or so to get all that figured out. And so we've had some problems. They've shown up here with things like that. One of them is now that I'm doing this on Google Hangouts, which makes it super easy to broadcast on YouTube. And I see she's in the chat room. I want to give Laura Rogers a shout out. Wonder Laura. This was kind of her idea because she's been doing the Power Hour on Hangouts for a while, and she kept telling me how simple it was and how even I couldn't screw it up, and I didn't believe her because my power for screwing things up is pretty strong. But then she had me come to a couple of Power Hours, and it worked out pretty well. So I switched over to that, and I quit recording it locally. And because Google records it out in the cloud, they record it in YouTube. So I'll quit recording that locally. The problem then becomes if my internet connections become a little fidgety, it's all being recorded in the cloud. And that hadn't been a problem until a month or so ago, 2 months ago, whenever my internet connection pooped out. We lost a few precious sage minutes of the podcast because my voice, my beautiful mug just didn't make it out of my house and out to the internet through the tubes and all that. So we kind of knew that was going to happen. That was a pretty obvious problem that could show up. So I started a month or so ago recording the audio locally with Audacity, because with podcasts, audio is king. The video is great, especially when you're a handsome devil like me, but the audio is really the important part. And so I can easily record Audacity. Windows can share audio devices, not so much video devices. So it's really easy for me to record the audio over here, second off, and then I've got this backup if something goes wrong. 2 weeks ago, something went wrong. And I'm like, I am the smartest man in the world. I've got a backup. And it worked out pretty well. So the video was missing just a couple, like a minute and a half and a couple of spots. So I kind of faded the video's audio out, dropped in the audio from Audacity, did a pretty good job of leveling it. It's tough to tell. It worked out pretty well. And I was pretty proud of myself. Now you're probably asking yourself why I didn't just remove all of the audio from the video recording from YouTube and just drop all of the audio from Audacity. If you're ever doing any audio video work, if you're doing it with amateur tools like I am, like Audacity and Camtasia and that kind of stuff, they don't have a thing called time code. And time code is with every bit of audio and video, they store the actual time that it was recorded, and it helps keep things. When you bring multiple things together, it helps line them up. Without time code, everything gets out of sync. So even though the audio recording and the video recording would be the same time, they all compress just a little differently. So you can't just easily drop an audio recorder for something on top of the video recorder, something else, and have it line up. That it just never quite lines up. I've tried that. So because of that, I just pulled up the pieces that I wanted, dropped the audio from Audacity in, and it worked like a champ. And I was so proud of myself. And I got that shipped off. But then I thought, the audio from Audacity just sounded a lot better because it didn't have all the compressing going over the web and all that. I should just use that for the MP3. So I have my template that I use in Camtasia. I pulled out the video file. I dropped in the Audacity file, jiggled it all around so it matched up with my intro, leveled it all out, rendered it, and thought, I should write a book about podcasting. I am so good at this. And I published it all out, and I updated my RSS feeds. I was just getting ready to lean back and listen to my chair creak, and the tweets started coming in. Hey, Todd, Klindt, you're an idiot. Your podcast sounds bad. So it turns out, I told you how I had the audio and the video in there, and I'd leveled out the audio from the video so that I could drop in the audio from the Audacity. I'd left that in there. So I had one channel that was audio, the whole show, and the one that had the pieces I'd added for the video. So I went ahead and removed those and rendered it out again and put it out there again, thinking that was a small hiccup. And then I started getting people tweeting me that they couldn't download it, that the file name was bad. Well, the title for last week's podcast was I'm a Fast Kind of Guy, I''M. Well, not all podcasting clients and all that like that apostrophe in the I'm thing. And I've got a bunch of tools that automatically generate files and file names and that kind of stuff. And what I haven't done is told them to go through and pull out the apostrophes when it's creating the actual files. And so I had a mismatch in that. So I had to fix those too. So, man, it was just one thing after another. But I think we got it all out. The audio is good. I will hopefully not make those mistakes tonight. Maybe different mistakes. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. If you see how I'm going. But so far, everything's good. My backup is running The people in the chat room haven't told me that the video's gone away. The people in the chat room haven't gone away, which was something that happened a couple of weeks ago. So it's all good. And so I appreciate you guys being patient with me. Laura in the chat room, that damn apostrophe, it'll get you every time. You know, when I'm king of the world, Laura, I'm going to outlaw the apostrophe. That's just it. It's going to be one of my first things that I'm going to do. I'm going to first make it illegal to answer the phone yellow. And the second thing I'm going to do is make the apostrophe illegal. Though I'm writing it down, those are important things. So on another production note kind of thing, that guy Shane, he misses doing, he hasn't done the SharePoint thing for a while, and he misses getting on here and chatting with me. He misses me. He doesn't want to say it, but he misses me. And he was kind of floating the idea that maybe he and I could do an Azure podcast. A podcast all about Azure. So it wouldn't replace this one, but it would be about the fun Azure things that he's doing over there in his part of the world. So if you think an Azure podcast would be fun, let me know. Again, send me a tweet at Todd Klindt. You can send Shane a tweet at Shane's Cows and let us know if you'd like an Azure podcast, and if you would like an Azure podcast, what kind of content you would like on this Azure podcast. Lori Gowan, executive producer and webmaster extraordinaire, is asking in the chat room, is she adding this to her production schedule? She will, but the good news is we are not taking you for granted, Lori. We will double your pay. So all that we pay you for this podcast, we will also pay you that for the other podcast. So that's what you got going for you. So we don't want to feel like you're being taken for granted, because that's just truly not the case. So again, same pay for this one as you get for the other one. So there you go. But if you've got ideas about that, some folks in the chat room show some interest in that. Let me know what you think. Azure, all about Azure, Azure Active Directory, Azure Virtual Machines, Azure Sites, all that fun stuff. If you'd like to hear Shane and I talk about that, give me a shout. Let me know. We'll see what we can do. Now on to the topics, and I'm looking over to my thing. There we go. So have a bunch of topics. Now, the last time we all got together, which again was a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of weeks before that, I was nearly foaming at the mouth talking about how excited I was about this new movie that comes out in a couple of weeks called The Martian. And I think I told the whole story about The Martian, how it was a book that a guy did on his blog because he couldn't get it published. And then he published it in the Kindle store and charged 99 cents for it because he had to charge something. And then it exploded. And it is just a great, funny book. When the director Ridley Scott was talking about the movie, he said he wanted to make a movie that was a love letter to science. And I think that is a great way to explain the book. It is a love letter to science, and it's about a guy who is part of the third manned mission to Mars, and he gets stranded on Mars because of a freak accident. And the book is all about what happens to him after he gets stranded by himself on Mars. And the book is just absolutely hysterical. It's a fairly short book. It's a quick read. It's a quick read because it's not very long. It's also a quick read because you won't put it down. It will impact your personal life. But anyway, that movie, so the book is a great book. I read it like a year and a half ago, loved it. And the movie is coming out. It comes out Friday, October 2nd. I think I'm just going to take the whole day off and just sit in the theater and watch it over and over again and just bask in the glory that is The Martian. And I forgot about that, and I'll get this link quickly. Or actually, Lori, why don't you get it? The website Ars Technica has a review of the movie. They got invited up to Toronto to watch a preview of that. So Lori will throw that in the chat room, and I'll throw that in the notes. And it was just a tremendous book. It'll be a tremendous movie. But I talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I said that there was going to be a quiz about The Martian this week to make sure that the folks in the chat room and listen to the podcast actually read the book. Throw Andy Weir, another $9 or whatever. And but I can see from the chatter in the chat room, most of the hooligans have already read it. So plus I forgot to prepare the quiz. But again, The Martian by Andy Weir. You can get it out on Amazon. And the movie stars Matt Damon as the main character, the protagonist, Mark Watney. The character in the book, one of the things that Andy Weir wanted to do was have this character not just completely succumb himself to the depression of the fact that he was abandoned on Mars. And so in the book, the character is very sarcastic, very, very funny. And I think Matt Damon captures that well from what I've seen in the previews. Pretty good for the role. So that's coming out. I'll be doing that on Friday, October the 2nd, and I hope you will be too. Let's make it the #1 movie that weekend. All of you guys, all my podcast hooligans, I challenge you to go out to it that weekend, and let's make it #1 at the box office. Mark Chrisman in the chat room is saying that October 2nd is his anniversary. I think October is a tremendous month to get married. My anniversary is October 26th. And I think Mrs. Mark Chrisman would love you up one side and down the other if October 2nd you surprised her, got a sitter for the kids, or had Katie watch the kids, and take her out to the Martian. I can't think of a better anniversary. Women in the chat room back me up on that taking his wife to the Martian is a good move. All right, so less non-SharePoint related content. Let's move on to that. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the October 2015 cumulative update. Now, I know what you're saying. The September cumulative updates have already come out. Why are we still talking about the August ones? I'm talking about the August ones because that's the one that I've been working with recently. And I wanted to kind of share some horror stories or battle scars for you. So I keep wanting to say October. The August 2015 cumulative update for SharePoint 2013 is the first one that includes the bits for the cloud search hookup that you can do. And so that's why I have installed that one. And I didn't get around to it. I was working on some other things and I didn't get around to it. And I just got around to it a couple of weeks ago and had some problems. But before I did that, I had some other folks asking me about it and I just hadn't gotten installed yet. So I didn't know what to tell them. But now every single person that I've talked to that has installed the August 2015 cumulative update for SharePoint 2013 has had it fail every single time. And I was no exception. On the machines that I installed it on had the same problem. So the symptom is you've got a completely happy farm, all that kind of stuff. You drop the August 2015 cumulative update on there and it starts churning and it does its slow thing. Even if you're using Russ Maxwell's script, it just takes for a while. And then at some point, hours, minutes, days into it, a dialog box comes up and says installation failed. And there is no help as to what happened. Now, if you've installed these updates before, you know that they put a setup log in your temp directory. So out to PowerShell I go to my temp directory. There it is. There is the log file from the setup. I pop it open in Notepad++, and I start reading. Now, normally when I do these kind of things, I will Control-End and Control-F and look for error, things like that, and start working up to see what happened. Nothing. Now, there was a whole bunch of hits for error, because for every single thing that it did install, there was like 2 variables that had the word error in it that it would always set to 0. But as far as I could tell, nothing broke. Everything was fine. The log had no problems in it. The installation just failed. So I tried to go out to Central Admin to see exactly what had gotten updated and what hadn't. Central Admin es kaput. 503, service unavailable. And at that point, the guy with the sad trombone walked into my office. Wah, wah. Very sad. And I thought, well, patches, they do a lot of things to the system. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot this box. So I reboot the box. It comes back up. I log in, go to Central Admin. The guy with the trombone's like, I can't leave yet. I try to open up Central Admin. 503, service unavailable. Wah, wah. So I pop open. So 503. 500 errors are server-side errors, app pool errors, things like that. And every time I get a 503, it's because the app pool in IIS can't start for whatever reason. So I pop into IIS, I pop into my app pools. App pools look fine. They're all stopped, but they look fine. So I manually start the Central Admin app pool, and it comes right up. And I poke around a little bit, and everything looks okay. I manually start the web app pool. They all come up now. Everything looks okay. But again, that patch didn't work. So I just reinstalled it. Again, I know that's that whole saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting different results. I did the same thing twice, got better results the second time. The patch finished, ran the config wizard, and everything was good to go. So the moral of this story is if you need to put the August 2015 cumulative update on SharePoint 2013, be prepared for disappointment. It's probably just going to fail for no good reason. The good news is you can just, every time, so I've done this on several boxes now, it's failed every single time. Every time I've rebooted the box and then reinstalled the patch. So that would be my advice to you. Reboot the box, reinstall the patch. It will likely work the second time, and it will be good. So Lori in the chat room is saying SharePoint is the one thing that breaks the definition of insanity. I would argue that SharePoint is insanity. I would also argue that whole doing the same thing, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. I also thought that was the definition of practice. I mean, I thought that's what practice was, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get better. I'm all very confused by the internet. But I had that problem with the August cumulative update. I should blog it or something so I can link it in my my wiki for that patch. Now, as I was moving around doing some things, one of the environments that I put the August cumulative update on fixed the problem. You know, I could get the cloud thing going, but had some other things that were broken. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'll go ahead and put the September cumulative update on there. Had the exact same problem with that. Now, the September cumulative update is not an Uber patch. It's not one big patch. It is multiple patches. And the big patch from that one, I had the same problem. I installed some of the little patches and they turned out fine. I installed the big patch from September. It just failed. Installation failed. No explanation. Nothing in the logs. Rebooted the box. Reinstalled the patch. It was fine. So go ahead with that. Xenox G in the chat room is asking, what is the most stable CU people are currently using? That is a good question. I've been doing a bunch of things with test environments lately, and I've been kind of out of the loop for what good stable environments are. So of course you can go to toddklindt.com/SP2013 builds, and you can follow along while I'm reading aloud because I'm going there myself. And let me see which patch it is that I'm liking these days. So August, I mean, after I got it on there, it seemed to be okay. I don't know. It's pretty new. I don't know that I'd put it on right away. July is not bad. They don't look so like April, maybe something like that is probably the good way to go. And so Brian Lawland said is asking if Stefan Gossner's blog post about the silent installs covered that or not. So Stefan's blog post covered when I tried to install it with Russ's script, but subsequent times I just double clicked it and I didn't do the / quiet or whatever. I forget the switch is that he talks about there. I did not do that for the subsequent installations, and it didn't work. Regardless, I've not found any way /passive. That's it. I did not pass it any parameters the subsequent times that I installed it. And the people that I talked to that had the same problem didn't do anything either. So, and Xenox G is saying he doesn't need the extra hybrid search yet, which is good. You get sort of hybrid search with Service Pack 1, which you should be at. But the cloud search thing that they just turned on is what you need the August patch for. And I've been kind of playing with that. I will have a blog post and some stuff about that once I've kind of run it through its paces. And I'll let you guys know how to do. They've got some stuff out there to help you get that configured and installed. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not easy peasy stuff. It's not like redirecting OneDrive or anything like that. It gets a little tricky. But don't get too discouraged if you try to install those patches and they failed. All right, so a couple of other things here before we end our time together, because again, Monday Night Football's on. Go Chiefs. I don't know if you guys watched the Chiefs and the Houston Texans game Sunday. That was some good stuff right there. Anyway, let's talk about, so somewhat related thing, the Office clients are coming out. The Office 2016 clients are coming out September 22nd. They've announced that. And that's on the blogs.office.com site. If you're an Office 365 customer and you're getting your clients through there, you'll be able to start getting them downloaded to you that way. They've introduced some, so they've got the current branch, which is the thing that's coming out as moving to RTM on the 22nd. They've introduced a slower current branch for business, and that is a branch for customers who need a more stable build of the client. They don't want the new features. They just want the security fixes. And the current branch for business, or the CBB, will come out every 3 months as opposed to every month. The feature updates will come out every 3 months. So depending on how you're getting your patches and all that. But anyway, start planning for that. You've probably already been looking at the preview. That's nothing new. Something else that's coming out is the Office Online Server preview. Now, the Office Online Server, you may say to yourself, what in the blue blazes is the Office Online Server? You may recognize the Office Online Server as some of its previous names, the Web Access Components, or the WACs, the Office Web Apps, or OWA, not to be confused with Outlook Web Access. Well, now with this version, we have a new version of them, and we need a new name. We couldn't give it the same name 2 versions in a row. That would be no fun at all. So the Office Online Server is the in-browser versions of Word and Excel and all that kind of stuff. They released their 2016 preview, and you can go out to blogs.office.com and see that. And that's some cool stuff. So obviously, the Office Online Server, OOS, which just rolls off the tongue, OOS 2016 works with SharePoint 2016. Obviously, that makes perfect sense. But what's cool is since they've decoupled that from the first version, and it's now a standalone client server and a WAPI server, now WAPI clients can use that. And who's our favorite WAPI client right now? SharePoint 2013, obviously. And so the OOS 2016 preview will work with SharePoint 2013. Now, I am in no way suggesting that you should put that in your production farm, your production SharePoint 2013 farm. But if you've got tests farms and you want to kind of practice what migration is going to look like, keep in mind that your OOS servers can work for multiple farms. So you can have multiple SharePoint farms. SharePoint and Exchange and Link, and all of them can consume the same Office Online Server or farms. So that might be an upgrade scenario that you want to investigate in your lab. Brian Lalandset in the chat room is just running around. I can just imagine at home saying "Whoppy, whoppy, whoppy." He's just loving. He's also suggesting that they should have called it the Office On-Prem Server, and then the acronym could have been OOPS. And I like OOPS. It goes well with WAC. WAC, OOPS. There's just a lot of good stuff there. I think the marketing folks really missed out on that. So go ahead and grab that if you're playing with Office or SharePoint 2016. That is a good thing to have out there. That renders your in-browser Office documents. You can hover over them in the document library, search results, all kinds of things like that. Good stuff. No SharePoint 2013 or 2016 farm is complete without the Office web apps, the WACs, the OOPS, whatever you want to call them. You need those there. And Lori's asking, does that still require a separate server? I believe that it does. Now, that's a change. With SharePoint 2010, the Office web apps had to be installed on a SharePoint server. With SharePoint 2013, they could not be installed on a SharePoint server. And I believe with 2016, it's the same. Honestly, just between you guys, I haven't installed the Office Online Server 2016 preview yet. Been busy with some other stuff, so I haven't dug into that as much as I should have. But as far as I can tell, yes, it still does require a separate server. That same blog post mentioned that the System Center management packs for SharePoint 2016 are out, and that's good. So that's something you can bolt into System Center, and you can get alerts on your SharePoint 2016 farm, do your monitoring, your things like that. So that is included in that. The link for that is included in that same blog post. All right, so I have a couple of things that I wanted to mention before we put all this together. I've been writing some new PowerShell. Since SharePoint 2016 has come out, I've had to rewrite some of my old standby scripts so that they handle both SharePoint 2013 and 2016. And it's always also been a good time for me to add some functionality that I've never added, because the ones that I wrote, 3 or 4 years ago are good enough, and I've just never done that. So I'm doing all that, and I've been working on that over the last few days. And I stumbled across something, not really stumbled across it, but investigated something that has been there forever, and I'm just a dummy for not noticing it or paying attention to it earlier, and that is snippets. So I don't write a lot of PowerShell. I use a lot of PowerShell. I don't write a lot of PowerShell. I don't write a lot of PowerShell functions, things like that. And I find myself always fiddling with the syntax for different structured things inside of PowerShell, try catch things, the template for functions and advanced functions, all those kind of things. I find myself struggling with, and I can never quite remember it, and I get the curly brackets messed up and all that, and it's always very frustrating for me. So just like 3 days ago, because God, I'm an idiot. I'm in the integrated scripting environment, the ISE, and this is the PowerShell 3. I think I was on a SharePoint 2013 server when I was doing this. The ISE's up there, and I was trying to remember, I was doing some try-catch stuff, and you could have multiple catches and all these kind of things, and I was playing with that, and I couldn't remember exactly where the structure was at, and for whatever reason, I right-clicked, and the Snippets thing was there, and I'm like, God, I wonder what that Snippets thing is. And here's why I'm an idiot. The Snippets thing is a bunch of template snippets built into the ISE that are all the things that I keep screwing up when I write my scripts. So there is a snippet for try catch. There's a snippet for a function. There's a snippet for if then. So what you do is, when you get ready to write that part of the code into your PowerShell script, you right click and go to snippet or Control J, and there's a big list, and you say, I'm going to do a do while loop here, and you click do while, and it puts all of it in there, and then it puts dummy text in there to see exactly what it is you want to put in there. So for the if then else, it says if x equals y, that kind of stuff, and it builds all that out. And so it has been very helpful, because as I'm rewriting these scripts, I'm rewriting them as functions as opposed to standalone scripts, and I'm trying to put error catching in for all of the things that I catch that are wrong. And again, that's the format of all those is something that I just don't do enough, because I don't put enough error catching in my scripts. So if you're writing your scripts in the PowerShell integrated scripting environment, look at the snippets, see what's in there, because it's going to help you write better PowerShell code. And I hope that helps at least one person out there, because I was loving it this weekend when I was using it. Okay. So one other thing I wanted to pass along is I've done a bunch of Windows 10 upgrades. I've upgraded tablets and little devices, little wormy devices, and all that kind of thing. And a bunch of the things that I have upgraded okay. And as we all know, if you've got licensed Windows 7 or 8.1, then you get Windows 10 for free. And it gets sort of confusing if you want to do a fresh install, how that works with the upgrade, because you need the install somehow to know that you're already licensed. So most folks are doing upgrades, and the upgrade to Windows 10 is pretty good. I've used it a bunch. It's not bad. But on some of my devices, especially some of these devices, these tablets that don't have a lot of resources, Windows 10 had some problems. Running out of drive space, just being sluggish and slow. One of them, I had the dreaded start menu issue where the start menu just didn't work. And in every instance of that, I had these problems, and there are all these little tablets that I don't store a bunch of stuff on. Built into Windows 10 and Windows 8.1 and 8 before it is this idea of doing a full reset, a system reset. And it's in the settings. If you just go, start searching and search for reset, it's right in there. And in every case where I've had a Windows 10 box that was kind of squirrely, running slow, out of drive space, whatever, doing the full reset inside of the OS got me to a good state. Every one of the boxes that I've done that on has come out of that fresh, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, performing better, happily, frees up all the extra drive space and all that kind of stuff. And so that's a good, so on Twitter today, Mary Jo Foley was talking about some problems that she was having with the Windows Store not working, the Windows Mail app not working, and it hasn't been working for her for weeks and months. And so she was saying, well, I need to do this. I don't know if I want to reinstall or whatever. And so her and I were having this conversation about how don't reinstall, don't boot off your USB media and do whatever. Try the system reset first. It's never failed me. I was in another forum, a non-tech forum, and someone was talking about Windows 10, and they're like, well, I've got this Windows 8 box. I don't know if I want to upgrade it. I don't really want to upgrade it. I want to do a full install, but I want to make sure I get my free upgrade. I don't know what to do. Same thing. Do the upgrade. If it works, sweet. If it doesn't, do your full reset. You keep your license. I've had to do that in a bunch of boxes, and it's worked pretty well. So I thought I would pass that on to you guys. Hopefully that'll save you some grief. Finally, I wanted to mention for those of us that have Windows phones. Now, I've talked to you guys on this podcast for the last several months. I moved over to Android. I'm not proud of it, but I need apps. I need to be able to use my phone. I will say, and I don't know if I've mentioned it this way before or not, my impression after using Android for several months is the operating system stinks. I don't like it. In every case, if there's anything that Windows Mobile and Android both do, and I'm talking about the guts and the settings and the notifications and all that, Windows Mobile does it better every single time. But Android has apps. I can actually use it, and golly, I like that. It's just so nice. But I have 2 Windows phones that I keep up to date, and this week they released a new preview for the Windows Phone Mobile, and I think you have to be in the fast ring for that, but you can get that out there. So now build 10,536 is out. My Lumia 635 has been trying for most of the day to get that thing installed, and it's not necessarily coming over very well. I've tried rebooting it several times, things like that, and it's getting closer. But for those of you who are still with Windows Mobile, give that a shot. Reboot a couple of times. Download the Windows Insider app. Make sure you run that and get yourself in the fast ring if you want to do that. Reboot and then do the Windows settings and look for your upgrade. And that should hopefully come out at some point. Maybe once Microsoft figures out if they're going to support Android apps and how they're going to support Android apps, I may be able to switch back. Use Windows Mobile, but use my Android apps. I will love it. All right. So I think for topics, I think that's it. I was worried. This is a funny tradition that Lori and I have, and this goes way back years and years. We've been doing this, and it's just good fun for everybody involved. It really is. On Mondays, I will open up the podcast window where we've shared the notes and the times and all that kind of stuff, and I will get all freaked out because I don't have anything to talk about. And I will frantically talk to Lori over IM, and I'll be like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about tonight. I got nothing to talk about. The show's going to be 8 minutes long. It's going to be horrible. They're all going to hate me. She's like, you'll be fine. You'll have plenty to talk about. Here, do this and this. And I'm like, that's never enough. It's going to be like 8 minutes. And she's like, it's always enough. You'll be fine. So go back about, 7 hours. We had this conversation, and, I played my part. She played her part. And sure enough, here I am, 30 some minutes later, plenty of time. So that's, I look forward to that every week. I would miss that if we didn't have that. But now we're on to the last part of our show, the shameless self-promotion. Shameless self-promotion is getting short, years winding down. And so the number of things that I'm going to be doing is also winding down. But the good news is today is September 14th. On September 18th, that is Thursday, a mere 3, 4, 7, really close to now. I'm going to be leaving for SharePoint-A-Looza in Branson, Missouri. This is my very first SharePoint-A-Looza, and I'm very excited about it. Now, you'd be saying to yourself, wow, SharePoint-A-Looza, that sounds like a blast, and Todd's going to be there. I would love to meet him in person. Have I got some good news for you? They still have some spots open. SharePoint-A-Looza has not sold out, so you can go to SharePointAlooza.org and sign up for that. And it's $50 and it's 2 days and it's awesome and you'll love it. And there's SharePoint and there's going to be some Azure stuff. I looked at the schedule. There's going to be music. There's going to be live bands. He's bringing live bands in. It's going to be great. Lori's asking, here's the question. Will I post the podcast prior to leaving? I normally post this thing Thursday mornings. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Let's go with yes, that I'm going to get this all done before I leave Thursday morning. At what time Thursday I leave, I have no idea. But whatever time it is, I'm sure I will sit down and do the 45 minutes to an hour's worth of work that is publishing this thing out. We'll just go ahead and say I'm going to do that on Thursday now. We'll see. I don't know. But SharePoint-A-Looza, September 18th and 19th is Friday and Saturday in Branson. I'm doing 2 sessions there. So one session I'm doing with chat room hooligan Jason Himmelstein. We're getting the band back together, and we're going to do a 75-minute or hour, I forget what the sessions are, SharePoint-A-Looza, condensed version of our Azure Active Directory thing that we did with IT Unity. Basically just chatting with folks and showing them what's out there and answering questions and just spreading the love, cracking on each other as we do. And that will be that was Friday morning. I think it's the first session. And then I'm doing my PowerShell with SharePoint Online session Saturday afternoon sometime. But there is so much going on. Mark Rackley puts this together, and I have yet to talk to a person who went to SharePoint-A-Looza and went, Everybody loves it. I'm going to be there. So I'm just kind of going down the chat room here. Jason Himmelstein's going to be there. Lori's going to be there. Lynn is going to be there. Virgil Carroll's going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. And you got to come. It's going to be a great time. But a couple other rackers are going to be there as well. And as I always say, if you're at a conference and you see me, for goodness sake, come up, introduce yourself, shake my hand. I would love to meet you. I would love to talk about your SharePoint. I would love to see what I'm doing that helps you, what I'm doing that doesn't help you, all that. Come find me. And so on Facebook, Mark Rackley was asking some of us speakers, he wanted some more prizes to give away to folks. And so I told him I could give away some autographed black and white glossy pictures of myself. And apparently now he expects it. And I think I'm not going to be able to deliver that. But I was just imagining those cheesy like headshots from the 70s, you know, the cheesy grin that are all black and white and, you know, and all my best, Todd, something like that. But Jason brought that up in the chat room. I don't know that I can make that happen before Thursday or not. Yeah, so I'll be, and I'm looking forward to having a blast there. So the other thing that I got going on is Dev Intersections. That is October 26th through the 29th. And you can find all about that at devintersection.com. Doing some sessions there. I don't know if that's all published out to the website yet. So I will not talk about what sessions I'm going to be doing because I don't know if that's out there yet. But that is in Las Vegas, Nevada at the MGM Grand. Great hotel. Lots of fun stuff there. Find out all about that at devintersection.com. All right, folks, we are 42 minutes in, something like that, and I will give you the rest of your night back. I want to go upstairs, watch me some Monday Night Football, see what's going on there. As always, if you've made it this far, thank you. You are a saint, and I will be back on Monday. I'll tell you all the great things that happened at SharePoint Palooza, make you super jealous and make you wish you were there, and hopefully make you want to go next year. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Chat room, stick around for a bit. I'll hang out in there and chat for a while. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.